Hello and welcome to another How to Play video for Wroth, a new area control game from Chip Theory Games that can be played solo, co-op, and PvP. In this video we'll be covering the base rules for solo and co-op. We'll be grouping them together as they both run on the same system. If you're watching this video, right after the PvP video, you may notice some rules crossover and rules changes. As the campaign has progressed, we've updated the base rules of the game to make Wroth more streamlined and enjoyable from game to game. To begin a game of Wroth, you'll place the map and victory point tracker in the center of your play space. Now we'll build our pool of action dice. In co-op, you'll add 2 action dice per human player plus 1, but in solo, we'll be playing with 4 action dice. Place your d6, set to 1, somewhere that everyone can see. This is your round counter. Next, each human player should choose a faction to play as. Make sure to consult the non-lettered version of the factions when making this choice. Each faction has their own set of elite units or abilities, as well as a unique feat card, which is a once per game ability specific to that faction. These are the key details to consider when choosing your faction. Once each player has chosen a faction, you'll collectively decide on your AI opponent. For this, you'll consult the reverse lettered side of the faction mats. You'll also want to keep in mind the AI faction's scenario. This card will give you a specific map layout, rule set, and win conditions associated with this AI faction. Up top is the special map layout for this scenario. Below that is the name of the faction this scenario relates to, and the name of the scenario itself. Next is the event. These are unusual rules that apply to only this scenario and supersede regular rules. Below that, you'll find mission success. These are the win condition or conditions for defeating this faction. Next is the Chaos Die track. These are unique abilities that are triggered each round depending on your initial roll and how long the game has been going. For this video, we'll be using the Coda as our opponent. Each player should sit in front of a different deployment zone. This is where your troops will be entering the fray. Now we'll place region scoring tokens on our map. Place tokens according to the scenario card you're using. In this case, there are no specific rules regarding score token placement, so we'll be placing them at random. Discard unused tokens to the box. The numbers on these tokens represent the points that you'll gain if you control or dominate this region at the end of a round. And these symbols represent benefits that you'll gain if you control these regions at the beginning of a round. In addition to placing score tokens, we'll also be placing the AI's deployment base. In this scenario, the Coda placed their deployment base in Region 6. This is where their troops will deploy from, unless otherwise stated. As part of this scenario setup, the card also wants us to place 2 trappers, based on a roll of the Chaos Die. This leaves us with a trapper in Region 4 and Region 8. Now that we've set up the map, we'll finish setting up our faction mats. Grab the feat card associated with your faction. The AI faction does not have access to their feat card. Each player, including the AI player, should add an all-seeing die to their mat. Next, place all of your faction's elite unit dice in their designated space, set to the number matching the mat. Next, you'll be adding regular troops to the mat. The AI player is given all 25 of their regular troops placed into their designated area. Set aside 1 near the victory point tracker to record their score. Now we'll consult this table to see how many regular troops we get. Since we're playing solo, we'll get 20 regular troops. We'll also get to deploy 4 troops during setup and 1 per round afterwards. The AI player will begin by deploying 4 troops to their deployment zone. We'll then set one of the unused regular troops aside as a score tracker. The human players are all fighting a common enemy, so their score is shared and they will only need 1 tracker. Regular troops are your faction's grunts. They're low-level units that are considered to have 1 HP. Regular troops will differ from your faction's elite units, which will have a core cost to deploy, a starting health ranging from 1 to 5, a unique ability, and sometimes they'll grant an additional bonus to victory points if they are in a region that you control. One final note before we begin the game, many AI factions will reference something called threat. Threat pertains to regions and can be calculated as follows. A region's threat is 1 per human faction regular troop and 3 per human faction elite troop. This calculation is cumulative across all human players. Now hand the first player token to the first player to clearly state, "I would like to be the first player, may I please have the first player token?" In the case of a solo game, the first player token will be given to the 1 human player and never move. You may skip this step if you'd like, but if you'd like to ask yourself this question, feel free. Now it's time to begin the game. Wroth is played in rounds, and in solo co-op, each round is made up of 7 phases. Phase 0, AI Maintenance. This is the phase where the AI will get to unleash chaos. In round 1, you'll roll the chaos die to determine where the chaos die track begins. We've rolled a 2. On a 2 result, the Coda will deploy a trapper to the highest threat region. There are currently no human troops in regions 1 through 8, which means the threat level is tied across the board. In the case of a tie, the AI will choose the lowest numbered region possible. In this case, the Coda will place a trapper in region 1. Place the chaos die nearby to track the rolled result. In future rounds, this die will not be re-rolled. Instead, you'll progress along the chaos die track a number of spaces equal to the round number, activating each one as you go. For instance, in round 2 of this game, we'll be advancing on the chaos die track 2 places, causing the Coda to deploy a trapper, and then enter hibernation season. Phase 1, Spoils. During this phase, players will gain benefits from the regions they control that have benefit symbols. This control is calculated per individual faction and can be gained by the AI faction. These benefits are Mine, Extend, Maneuver, and Battle. If a player controls a region with one of these benefits, they may take that action as though they were spending an action die with the matching face at this time. We haven't gone over action dice, so I'll skip these descriptions for now. These benefits are gained in the order of the region numbers that they are placed on. Once all players have gained benefits from the regions they control, you'll move on to the next phase. Phase 2, Laying Groundwork. During the Laying Groundwork phase, each human player will reinforce by placing 1 regular troop from their faction mat into their deployment zone. The AI player will carry out the same action, but instead will place a number of regular troops equal to the number of human players. Next, you'll discern. You do this by rolling your all-seeing die and placing it back on your mat, displaying the rolled result. This result can be used once per round at any time during one of your turns. It is re-rolled during this phase each round, even if the previous result was unused. And finally, you'll end this phase by allocating. To allocate, each player simply takes 1 Cora from the stockpile and adds it to their mat. Now that we've completed laying groundwork, it's time for the draft. Phase 3, the draft. The first player gathers all of the action dice and rolls them. Each action die has 4 possible faces. The number of faces has been updated since the PvP video. 1 mine face, which lets you take 1 Cora from the stockpile. 1 extend face, which lets you deploy up to 2 regular troops from your mat to any region where you have 1 or more troops. 2 maneuver faces, which lets you move up to 2 regular troops from your mat to the deployment zone, or move up to 2 of your deployed troops from one region to a single adjacent region. And 2 battle faces, which let you deal 1 damage to an enemy troop in either a region you occupy or a region adjacent to a region you occupy. These effects differ a bit for the AI player, and I'll outline their differences now. For the AI player, the mine face causes it to take 2 Cora from the supply and then spend Cora. How does the AI spend Cora? The AI will always spend Cora as soon as it is able, and it will spend as much as it is able to. When spending Cora, the AI will purchase elite troops starting with the highest priority level A, before moving on to any B priority levels. If all of a priority level is currently available, the AI will prioritize purchasing the leftmost elite troop that they can currently afford. When the AI deploys an elite troop, place it in the current deployment base region. After placing an elite troop, the AI faction will repeat this process if it has enough Cora to purchase any elite troop. The extend phase causes it to deploy 4 regular troops from its mat to the region with the highest threat that already has an AI troop. The maneuver phase causes the AI to disperse the region with the most AI troops. What is dispersing? Dispersing is an ability unique to the AI player. When instructed to disperse, the AI will follow these steps. First, it will move all elite troops in the origin region to the adjacent region with the highest threat. Next, the AI will determine how many regions are adjacent to the origin region. Then it will move one regular troop to the region with the lowest region number, then one to the second lowest, and so on. When all adjacent regions have received one troop, repeat this process. The AI will continue moving regular troops until only one remains in the origin region. The battle phase causes it to deal 1 damage to the highest threat region that it occupies or that is adjacent to a region that it occupies. It then repeats this process. How does the AI player deal damage? When dealing damage, the AI player will always target elite troops before regular troops. If there are multiple elite troops present, the human players decide which is attacked. Here are the rolled results. Starting with the first player, each human player will draft 1 die and place it on their faction mat without changing its face. This continues until only 1 die remains. This die is given to the AI player. Phase 4. Actions. The Actions phase is where each player will use the dice that they have just drafted. Starting with the first player, each player will spend 1 of their action dice to take a turn. During a player's turn, they can spend an action dice to take the corresponding action. A player may also choose to spend 2 of their dice, including their all-seeing die, to take the Exodus action. This allows a player to choose 1 region and move any number of troops from that region to any number of adjacent regions. In addition to spending an action die, a player may also spend Cora to deploy elite units or activate abilities on their turn. Spent Cora is returned to the stockpile. A player may also spend their all-seeing die at any time during their turn by removing it from their mat. The all-seeing die is a powerful tool with 4 possible faces. 1 Mind Face, which allows you to take 1 Cora from the stockpile. 1 Strike Face, which allows you to deal 1 damage to any troop on the map. 2 Assault Faces, which deal 2 damage to a region you occupy or to a region adjacent to a region you occupy. And 2 Double Faces, which immediately repeat another action die effect that you just carried out. These effects differ a bit for the AI player, and I'll outline their differences now. The Mind Face causes it to take 2 Cora from the stockpile, then spend it immediately if able. The Strike Face causes it to deal 1 damage to the highest threat region. They then repeat this action. The Assault Face causes it to deal 2 damage to the highest threat region it occupies, or to a region adjacent to a region it occupies. They then repeat this action. The Double Face causes it to repeat the first action die face that is used in a round. The AI player will always use its all-seeing die as soon as it is able. A player may also use their feat card during their turn. This is a powerful ability that can only be used once per game. After activating a feat, flip your feat card face down to track that it has been used. After each human player has taken a turn, the AI player will take a number of turns equal to the number of human players who just acted. For the first AI turn, they will use the result of their action die. For each subsequent turn, the AI will roll their action die and take the rolled result as their action. Once each human player has used up all of their action dice and the AI has taken the corresponding amount of follow-up turns, the phase ends. I'll now be fast-forwarding through the rest of this round to get to the next phase. Phase 5. Victory Points. This is the part of each round where you'll tally up points and try to defeat the AI. Human and AI players will gain victory points in the same way. To award victory points, you'll consult each region in order, starting with Region 1. If a player controls a region, they will gain victory points equal to the token on that region. To control a region, your faction must have the most troops in that region. In co-op, all human faction troops are combined when scoring to determine who controls a region. If a player dominates a region, they gain victory points equal to the token on that region plus 1. To dominate a region, you must be the only faction with troops in that region. If you have elite units in a region that you control or dominate, make sure to consult your faction mat as some of them grant a victory point bonus. Here's a quick breakdown of where the scores lie at the end of round 1. The Coda control and dominate Region 1, so they gain 2 points, plus 1 for dominating. In Region 2, no troops are present, so no one scores. In Region 3, the Uglin control and dominate for 2 victory points. No troops are present in Region 4, so no one scores. The Coda control Region 5, but the 1 Uglin troop present is preventing them from dominating the region. They gain 1 victory point. The Coda control and dominate Region 6 for 4 victory points. No troops are present in Region 7, so no one scores. The Coda control and dominate Region 8 for 2 victory points. That leaves our scores in the first round at AI 10 points, Human 2 points. At the end of this phase, if any player has met the mission success condition, they've won. If no player has won, you'll move on to the final phase of the round. Phase 6, Initiative passes. In this phase, the first player will pass the first player chip to the next clockwise human player, and the round counter will increase by 1. Then a new round will begin. This process would repeat until a faction reaches the mission success or loss conditions for the scenario. And there you have it. Those are the solo and co-op basics for Wroth. If you like what you saw here, be sure to check out the GameFound page linked below. Thanks for watching.